Welcome to Raw Machines, a journey into some of the world's most remarkable production processes. In this episode, we follow the path of volcanic toughstone, from the quarry at Bell to the construction of a communal bread oven in Dottenberg. Here, raw material, traditional craftsmanship, and inherited knowledge come together to create a durable, heat-retaining oven that serves the daily needs of an entire community. Let's begin. Tough stone, formed from compacted layers of volcanic ash, is light and porous in structure. Its capacity to absorb heat rapidly, retain it steadily, and withstand high temperatures without cracking made it an ideal material for building baking ovens. The abundance of tuff, together with the communal need for bread baking, gave rise to the oven-building craft in Bell. Before the stone is split, the mason precisely determines the dimensions of each block according to the technical requirements of the oven, from floor slabs to vault stones. Using a folding rule and wooden laths, the cutting lines are carefully set out.
Oh, wir können uns dran hier, ne? Ja. Jetzt zur Sache. Sputzen ist ein bisschen. Komm mal auf. Also, ja. Gib mir jetzt gerade den Spitz, da kann ich gleich anfangen. Das ist schon nicht drin, gell? Ja. So, die klar.
Along these marked lines, the worker cuts guiding boundary grooves around the block with a double-headed hammer and chisel, while a secondary groove is opened at the base to define the splitting plane and guide the fracture. Once the block is fully outlined, the preparation is complete and the stone is ready for wedge splitting.
Ja, alle 15 meter. Zult me dan heen naar een kam? Kam her. Hva? Ja, du har det beste hånden her. Ja. Det skal være hit. Ja, det er schwierig. Jetzt müssen wir aufpassen her. Hey, sehen wir. Du bist gerade richtig, so fertig. Gut. Also, fallen wir. So, da gucken wir mal. Dann mal auf die Luft besuchen.
Along the predetermined splitting line, the mason cuts a series of wedge holes spaced 5 to 10 centimeters apart. Their depth varies according to use. Shallower for oven floor slabs, deeper for vault stones. Iron wedges are set into the holes and driven with a wooden mallet in slow, even strokes, creating a controlled splitting force.
Aber wie man wollte, ne? Ganz klar. So, ganz klasse.
Throughout the process, the craftsman watches the opening fissure and listens closely to the sound of the stone, reading the fracture as it develops and detecting hidden faults. Only blocks with a clean, even splitting face are accepted. For this reason, the work is carried out during frost-free seasons, when freezing moisture cannot damage the stone.
Da küsst der Beste hier hin, da gucken wir mal, wie wir runtergehen. Ja, da hinten ist die Kehle. So, da wollen wir sehen. Oh, hopp! Ah, gut. Ich hab gesagt, wir werden nicht. Ah, Schwein von Schlacht. Hopp! 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 Hey, langsam. Ja, hier, Narre. Ah, so, weg. So, jetzt. Hopp! Sauber! Hopp! Vorsicht! Stopp! Nicht hier, ne? So. Hopp! Einfach.
Once detached, a single stone block could weigh more than a ton. From the 1920s onward, quarrymen in Bell used wooden mechanical cranes to lift and move the stone within the quarry. Operated by pulley systems and hand cranks, these devices allowed heavy blocks to be raised vertically under controlled force.
Pull up. Schnell. Moment, Entschuldigung. Lauf doch ab. Oh, der du, da kann man es schwer wie. Sauber. Halt die Wand. So, jetzt bin ich schwer die Ecke. So, jetzt.
The lift required close coordination among several workers, one operating the crane, others guiding the ropes and supervising the placement. The lifting rhythm had to be carefully regulated so the block would not rotate, strike the rock face, or drop freely, preserving its internal structure before it entered the next stages of shaping and finishing.
No Tee, hou nog fester. Ja hoor. Ganz schneller, Junge. Klopt nog. Nog schneller. Pak maar een apparaat erop. Kom nou,
After being brought to the quarry hut, the tough blocks are worked from rough stone into oven blanks at the dressing area beside the shelter, taking advantage of the stone's natural condition and reducing transport weight. The craftsman first determines each block's role in the oven structure: floor slabs, vault stones, keystones, or support stones, then sets out the dimensions and form using standard wooden templates. The stone is then tested by tapping. A clear ringing sound indicates a dense sound block. A dull or rattling tone reveals hidden cavities or fractures, in which case the stone is rejected or reserved for secondary elements. Once approved, rough dressing begins while the stone is still green, retaining its natural moisture. In this state, tuff is less brittle and easier to work. Using the flat-faced hammer, flex, the mason trues the edges and levels the surfaces. Throughout this stage, the tools are regularly sharpened on a sandstone grinding block beside the hut to ensure precision and control. During the stage of detailed finishing, the oven floor slabs are shaped first. Using wooden templates, the craftsman sets out the dimensions and marks the material to be removed. Before splitting, the stone is supported from below to cushion the fall and prevent cracking as it is reduced to thin slabs. Shaping proceeds step by step. Guiding grooves are cut along the marked lines, and the stone is separated with controlled blows. The surfaces and edges are then trued with the flat-faced hammer, flasha, in short, even strokes, producing stable and accurate contact planes for heat storage and distribution. The remaining stones are worked according to their function within the oven structure: lintel stones above the opening, vault stones, and the keystone at the crown of the arch. Each block is shaped specifically for its position, with the keystone fitted last to lock the vault in place. Once finished, the stones are sorted and prepared for transport and oven construction. From the tough quarry, where both material and the craft of oven building were formed and passed down, the shaped stone blocks and oven builders moved on to the next site.
So, dan machen wir den unter 40. Das war ein bisschen was, ja. Mal gucken.
It was in this context that the community of Dottenberg began constructing a new bread oven, drawing on tough stone and oven building expertise from Bell and ushering in a new phase of communal oven construction.
So, dan machen wir den unter 40.
In 1826, the community built a communal bread oven to serve local daily life. By the mid-1960s, the structure was dismantled to make way for expanding transport infrastructure. In 1971, the residents of Dottenberg founded the Dottenberg Citizens Association to preserve local cultural heritage, with the aim of reviving traditional bread baking and constructing a new communal bread oven. After 5 years of preparation, the association officially began construction. Professional oven builders from Bell were commissioned to construct the bread oven. Since the early 20th century, Bell, together with Königswinter, had been a center of oven building craft in the Rhineland. Through technical adaptation and innovation, this traditional body of knowledge was preserved up to the time of the oven's construction in Dottenberg. Preparatory work began in front of the new oven house in Dottenberg. Building stone was quarried locally and transported to the site as rough blocks to allow for on-site shaping. Members of the Bach Citizens Association assisted by preparing traditional mortar, spies, mixed with water, thoroughly stirred, and finely screened before use. The oven base was filled with gravel and sand, topped with a Rhineland basalt foundation and a leveling layer of sand to support the baking stone. The profile of the natural stone vault was then drawn at full scale directly onto the oven house wall, providing the technical reference for all subsequent stages of construction. Shaping the baking stone slab was a task requiring a high level of manual skill. The craftsman checked surface flatness through visual inspection, combined with a square wooden straight edge used as a reference. Remaining high spots were worked down with a double-faced finishing tool until the required flatness was achieved. The slab edges were then beveled with an iron chisel or specialized hammer to ensure tight joints and precise fitting. This process clearly demonstrates the union of raw natural material and exacting handcraft, characteristic of traditional oven building practice. During the summer months, oven builders traveled throughout the Rhineland and neighboring regions, working on commission and leading an itinerant way of life. When employed far from home, they used letter, a secret occupational language formed by reversing the roots of words from the Bern dialect, to exchange technical knowledge without revealing trade secrets to the oven owner. This language was passed down within craftsmen's families and mastered only after the completion of formal apprenticeship. The baking surface of the oven was formed from multiple tough stone slabs, each 9 to 10 centimeters thick and irregular in size. This natural stone was widely used in bread oven construction for its ability to absorb heat quickly, store it efficiently, and release it slowly, while remaining structurally stable and resistant to expansion or cracking under high temperatures. The slabs were fitted together to create a baking surface with a slight rearward slope to promote even heat distribution, while requiring absolute flatness across the entire surface. The oven builders checked the tightness of the joints using a wooden straight edge, adjusted levels with fine sand, and fixed each slab into position with light hammer taps, working with millimeter precision. The oven mouth was built to a height of 25 centimeters and a width of 52 centimeters, serving as the opening for both firing and loading bread into the baking chamber. The cast iron door used for the new oven was salvaged from the former communal bread oven of Dottenberg, which was dismantled in 1966 and preserved for reuse, expressing a material and historical continuity within the structure. During construction, the oven mouth was temporarily braced with bricks, then bonded integrally into the oven casing at the same level as the baking surface. At the same time, a brick base ledge was built around the baking surface to reinforce the structure. Finishing the oven chamber required precise shaping of the natural stone blocks, with particular attention given to the ring stones, which were cut with beveled edges to ensure the stability and cohesion of the vaulted structure.
Ja, dat past maar niet. Doe maar een beetje pot toch. Zo. Oh, we doen een beetje rond. Zo. Ja. Voor de lust naar de kant. Wie de hij in de toekomst brengt, ja. Maar een ander geeft, ja, dan niet.
Vault construction was typically carried out by 2 oven builders working in parallel, with an average construction time of about 1 week per completed oven. During this process, the channel stones, vault trough stones, were set approximately 2 centimeters below the baking surface and inclined on the brick base ledge to counteract the vault's horizontal thrust and prevent pressure from being transferred to the surrounding walls. Before laying, the stone surfaces were moistened to improve mortar adhesion and joint durability. The final stone of each course was cut with a square recess, with a corresponding technical opening formed in the course behind to allow for the later installation of the flue.
Zo, doet hij op de leeg. Ja, dat blijft.
Once all stones were correctly positioned, the joints were fully mortared and reinforced, with particular care given to the internal joints and the upper edge of the vault. Excess mortar was carefully removed, ensuring structural accuracy and a clean finish that reflects the technical mastery of traditional oven vault construction.
So, geschlossen mit einer Welle.
Jawohl. So, aufpassen, ja.
A dated stone, about 30 centimeters high, was engraved with the year of construction. It was set horizontally above the cast iron oven door, bonded into the front facade with mortar, and finished flush with the surrounding surface.
So, da haben wir sie.
During the construction of the vault, the decisive operation is stabilizing the structure until the chamber is fully closed. The oven builder must maintain continuous pressure for 15 to 22 minutes, allowing the stones to self-lock and the compressive forces to distribute evenly. This is achieved using prepared square wooden struts, together with a front wooden brace at the oven mouth, the most sensitive area where even minor inaccuracies can compromise the entire vault. To shape each stone precisely, the craftsman does not rely on estimation, but works directly from the geometry of the structure. Required angles and dimensions are determined using an adjustable wooden measuring tool, a traditional instrument of blacksmiths and oven builders. Measurements are taken directly on the tough stone bench and transferred straight onto each block for hand shaping, ensuring that every stone fits its exact position within the vault. The horizontal stones at the base of the vault, forming the foundation of the baking chamber, are shaped according to the same principles as the groove stones. One face is beveled, allowing the stone to seat correctly on the vault ring and transmit compressive forces tangentially, minimizing gaps and distributing load evenly around the circumference. Throughout this stage, the ring stones are supported and held in position to preserve the vault geometry during assembly. After each placement, the builder carefully checks whether the stones meet tightly and without gaps. If misalignment is detected, individual stones are safely removed and corrected using hammer and chisel, particularly around the oven mouth, where even minimal deviation can distort the entire curvature. When the gap between the oven opening and the stone rings must be reduced, a second builder cuts and fits an additional stone precisely to size. Cutting is carried out with a pointed hammer, struck along previously marked lines to create controlled fracture grooves. By exploiting edges of varying thickness, the blows guide a clean separation. Excess corners are then removed with firm, straight strikes, producing a stone that fits seamlessly into the structure. The core principle of this construction lies in the fact that the stones themselves generate the vault's tension. Once the joints are closed, compressive forces between the stones create a self-supporting arch without the need for additional reinforcement. This principle is particularly well suited to volcanic tuff, a relatively lightweight, heat-resistant material ideal for self-bearing vault structures. For this reason, such work can only be mastered by experienced oven-building masters. The techniques of hand-shaped stone and vault construction were practiced sporadically until around the 1950s, before gradually giving way to pre-cut stone and machine-based fabrication. As construction progresses, the interior workspace becomes increasingly confined. In the final stage, the builder can place only the last two stones of the vault from above, a task demanding absolute precision, as these stones lead directly to the next and decisive step, closing the vault with the keystone.
Der ist soweit angepasst und dann noch ein.
Da kann ich schon machen,
Das ist schon vorbereitet.
Vorbereiten.
Die hast du raus.
Ja.
Die laden wir noch hin.
Hoffentlich haben sie.
The keystone is the final stone of the oven vault, shaped precisely to fit the remaining opening. Before it is set in place, the oven builder carves a cross into its surface, marking the center of the vault and invoking a traditional sign of blessing rooted in long-standing building practice. Placing the keystone marks the completion of the vaulted firing chamber. By custom, This moment takes place in the presence of the oven owner and the community. The final hammer blows are not delivered by the master builder, but by a member of the Back Citizens Association, as a ceremonial gesture. Traditionally, the number of blows determines the amount of wine the owner must offer to the builders. This simple ritual brings the vaulting process to a close, reflecting the close bond between craftsmen, community, and the structure they have built together. After the keystone was set, the oven builders constructed the flue system at the rear of the oven. This system consisted of 2 brick flues connected to the baking chamber by channels built of tough stone and brick, positioned between the outer shell of the vault and the crown of the oven. These channels allowed smoke to be drawn off during firing, ensuring the baking chamber reached the required temperature. The flue channels were built continuously and linked to the main chimney through a central smoke-collecting duct, fuchs, where the smoke was gathered before exiting. Once completed, the system was carefully sealed and mortared to prevent uncontrolled air intake into the baking chamber, thereby ensuring stable heat accumulation and retention. A cast iron flue damper was installed to regulate the draft.
Jetzt hört der schon ein Spaß und dass es ein anderer ist. Dann noch die letzten.
The vaulted baking chamber of the Dottenberg oven has a floor area of approximately 1.20 x 1.60 meters, set within the oven's lower chamber, with an average vault height of about 30 centimeters. At this scale, each firing could accommodate nearly 40 loaves, typically arranged in 4 rows, clearly reflecting the capacity and function of a traditional communal bread oven. After the chimney was fully connected to the flue system, the oven was first test-fired at low temperature. This was done by the oven builders to dry the mortar and tough stone, and to gently preheat the structure. They began with blackthorn wood, then switched to oak to produce stronger embers and higher heat. Once the brick casing was completed, sand was poured over the vault as insulation, allowing the oven to retain heat for over a day. About 1 week after construction began, the communal bread oven was finished. As was customary, the oven builders then departed for the next site, returning home only at the end of summer, bringing an itinerant cycle of labor to a close. Looking back at its entire process of formation, the communal bread oven of Dottenberg emerges as a structure shaped by time, craftsmanship, and collective memory. It is not merely the outcome of a construction project, but the tangible continuation of a body of craft knowledge formed, accumulated, and passed down through generations of oven builders in the Rhineland. From volcanic tuff bearing traces of deep geological time to every hammer strike, chisel mark, and mortar joint. The oven embodies the close relationship between natural material, manual labor, and communal life. The extraction, shaping, and assembly of the stone reveal a highly developed system of traditional craftsmanship in which practical experience is paramount. Listening to the sound of stone to assess its internal structure, controlling fracture lines with wedges, and setting the oven vault by wooden gauges and the trained eye of the craftsman all rely on tacit knowledge transmitted directly within the working environment. Precision was essential, as even minor deviations could affect the oven's structural stability and heat retention. The involvement of oven builders from Bell reflects the regional circulation of craft knowledge. With them came stone, tools, professional conventions, and the seasonal rhythm of itinerant labor once common in the area. The local community did not remain passive, but took part in preparation, observation, and the gradual absorption of this knowledge, creating a close interaction between professional craftsmanship and communal life. Once the oven was test-fired and entered regular operation, it also became a historical witness. In the simple architecture of its stone vault and baking chamber, the communal oven preserves a late encounter between natural tough, self-supporting vault construction, and purely manual craftsmanship before mechanization and industrial materials came to dominate. The project thus not only concludes a traditional cycle of labor, but continues to exist as a living heritage, where fire, stone, and bread connect people to history, local identity, and collective memory preserved through craft itself. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this story. If you enjoy videos like this, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next story. Raw Machines thanks you, and see you next time.